Good afternoon, all. Thank you all for taking your time for joining this webinar. Before we go into the webinar, let us all see a small video.
Hospitals work round the clock to serve patients. Being at the center of the action, hospital physicians and staff must confront every situation and every challenge. They must also keep up with evolving health needs and knowledge through ongoing comprehensive training programs. What they need is a promising solution to ensure a continuous learning journey.
In today's world, technology is transforming life. Be it taxis, food delivery, everything we need is at our fingertips. Education is also going through a transformation, and we are at the forefront in the healthcare industry.
MedLearn is a comprehensive learning, training and skill development platform incubated at Impulsys in India for healthcare professionals to attain the right mix of content, learning and skills that help them throughout their career. The platform offers a wide variety of courses that enable hospitals to meet their employee training and development needs in areas of quality compliance, soft skills and induction. The platform is designed in a way that it enables easy tracking of the real-time status of their learning progress. What's unique about this platform is that it's accessible anytime, anywhere, ensuring quality learning literally at your fingertips. Hospitals can now assign courses and track the competencies of users on specific topics with MedLearn's intelligent assessment tool, which gives them better administrative control. Its superior courseware helps hospitals provide standardized care and bridge skill gaps at every level in the organization. The healthcare professionals will also become more efficient and empowered when their learning journey progresses with ease and at their convenience. Let us unite to improve healthcare in India by spreading knowledge through technology. MedLearn. Better prepared for better care.
Thank you, Subheshri, for the video. Let me introduce the speaker for today. But before that, can someone, what is the winner? You can put it in the chat. No one? You all have registered for this webinar session, so you would definitely have read the topic name. Anyone who can put it in the chat and tell me what is the topic for today you're attending. Okay. Oh, we don't have any responses till now. Hurry up. Okay, so yeah, someone has put up feedback and customer experiences. Okay, good. Okay, right. So I would take the opportunity to introduce, patient engagement as service excellence strategies. Very good. So I'll take the opportunity to introduce the speaker for today. So we have here with us Mr. Varun Chinche, who is heading the hospital success team from MedLearn. To give a brief introduction about Varun, Mr. Varun Chinche comes with a varied experience in training and development. He is a psychologist. He has pursued his post-graduation in healthcare administration and also certified in strategic human resource from IIM Calcutta. He's also a certified soft skill trainer, e-learning coach, and a POSH trainer, which adds on a feather to professional growth. He has trained more than 6,000 students in hospital and company professionals. He's also a certified image consultant in National Institute of Skill and he's an award for skill development contribution to soft skill, wellness, and e-learning. Here, I'll give the chance. I'll give a head for is audible. Varun.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so
Hi.
much. Thank you so much, Feba, for the video and the introduction. Hello, everybody. Very good afternoon. Warm greetings from Medlearn. This is Varun Chinche. I head the hospital success team at Medlearn. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in for today's session. We at Medlearn believe in continuous learning and development and growth of the hospital professionals. And I'm really, really ecstatic to introduce such an important topic with you all, which is effective patient engagement and service excellence strategies with hospital. So just before I proceed, I need a heads up. Subhashi, is the video and the audio is clear? Feba, is the video and the audio clear?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So let us start with today's topic. As I understand, that for the entire healthcare fraternity, how important is the patient engagement and what are the different service excellence strategies that we can put forward in our routine to engage patient more and to enhance the patient satisfaction. So today we are going to discuss some strategies of service excellence, how we are going to improve the patient feedback. We are going to talk a bit on the net promoter score, how you are going to strategize and strengthen your feedback mechanism alongside the complaint escalation metrics. What is the involvement at different levels of senior leadership from the hospital and healthcare required? So let us start with what is patient satisfaction and patient experience. In case you have to add any queries, any experiences you want to share, any data points, any statistics, feel free to drop into the chat box. You can put your queries, your concerns into the chat box, and we can address them. So, of course, as you all have been working in the healthcare fraternity for quite a long time, and I'm pretty sure about the fact that everybody knows what is patient satisfaction and patient experience. But over a period of time, the definition of the patient experience have changed. Also, we have seen that when COVID came into the picture, a lot of changes the healthcare setup have to, the hospitals have to do in their routine, in their service excellence strategies, in the patient care and treatment. A lot of things that we need to tweak in line with the current pandemic. So that has totally changed the definition because the patient these days are much more aware. They are aware about what's happening around, what are the treatment strategies that they have to follow, how much they have to involve in the care and the treatment decision making. So patient satisfaction is nothing but a balanced measure of quality where the patient experience focuses on the way of healthcare facilities are being perceived by the patient. So it is just not about the care and the treatment that has been provided by the nurses and the doctors, but it also majorly involves the support facilities, the support function from F&B to security services to housekeeping. Everything from the patient entry to the patient exit adds up to the overall patient experience. In patient engagement strategies, these allow patients to become more actively engaged in gathering information, making the decision about their symptoms, illness, and treatment option. Providers need to empower the patient to have a voice in their healthcare experience. So days are gone when the patients were not aware about what's happening with them, what are the treatment guidelines are being followed. This time, now in 2023, patients wants to feel much more involved at every level of care decision making. Also, what are the treatment facilities other than the routine care that has been provided to the patient? And now patient have different forums to raise their voice on dissatisfaction. That is why patient experience and service excellence becomes really critical. If I have to drag your attention on some of the survey statistics related to the service excellence, 86% of the customers are willing to pay more for a better customer experience. As we all are thorough with the service excellence and what important role it plays in the healthcare routine lifestyle. In the patient entire care lifestyle, around 51% of the customers will never do business with that company again just after one poor customer experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, word of mouth is becoming a very, very important, powerful tool these days. Therefore, 90% of the customers who are unhappy with the brand will just leave the brand without even complaining. Even if you have a very strong feedback mechanism in place, still there are 90% of the customers or the guests or the patients who are not even willing to share their feedback. So our job as healthcare professionals become more sensitive and critical because we have to streamline the mechanism of feedback and the complaint escalation metrics. But taking everything as a whole around talking on the business and the revenue front of the healthcare, 4% to 8% of the businesses that deliver better customer or patient experience obtain revenues above the market share. So that's why service excellence is becoming a key parameter to drive service excellence and to drive better care in the hospital. There are three major components of service excellence, which, if controlled, are going to give a much more patient centric environment. 84% of people believe that wait time is either somewhat important or very important to overall experience at a doctor's office. So waiting time over a period, because as the population is increasing, the lifestyle disorders are increasing. There is a huge chunk of patients approaching to different healthcare facilities. Therefore, queue management, disturbance handling, managing the appointments is becoming much more critical. 30% of the patients have walked just out of the appointment due to the long waiting time. One in every five patients has changed doctors because of their long wait times. Therefore, 77% of patients says healthcare costs are unpredictable. Of course, if there is an increase in technology, upgradation in equipments, of course, the overall healthcare cost which a patient has to bear from the pocket is also going to increase. Therefore, the patient perspective is becoming in such a way that if they are paying so much, their requirements needs to be addressed and at the same time they need to be heard. 41% of the millennials requesting estimates before undergoing treatment. Now, the patients are even more aligned on the cost and the commercials that they are going to process when they are going to get into a healthcare facility. And that is one of the major areas because of which stress is increasing in the patient and the healing is also going to get compromised. Why I'm projecting this data? Because on these particular data points, we are going to design our strategy. As Medlearn is a family of 350 plus hospitals across the country, we are going to bring on the table multiple strategies, best practices from different healthcare facilities there that are being used and successfully implemented, which is giving the healthcare facilities an edge. 50% of the patient says responsiveness to follow-up questions via email or phone outside of the appointment is critically or very important. So communication is becoming critical, from therapeutic communication to interdepartmental communication with the patient and the guest is becoming critical, because patient at every time, at every spot, at every touch point in the healthcare facility wants to feel that he or she is being heard properly and they are well communicated. Therefore, 68% of the patients says their healthcare providers need to improve how they interact with the patient. That is why the communication from the doctors to patient, nurse to nurse, doctor to nurse, patient to nurse to attendants, interdepartmental, every communication is becoming critical. So if in general we want to improve our service excellence, let us together work on the waiting time, the cost, and the communication, for which we are going to dwell deeper into the strategies further. Again, one more statistics I would like to bring on this forum is 73% of the patients want to be asked for a feedback within a few minutes to a few hours after they receive care. So, ladies and gentlemen, the percentage of the feedback which the patient wants to provide is increasing day by day. Even 53% of the patients say that the value great customer service in a healthcare provider, that they really value that the customer service experience in the healthcare is deteriorating, and they would want the service excellence to improve in the healthcare fraternity. So if you satisfy one patient, that reaches to four more patients. But at the same time, if you alienate to one patient, that reaches 10 potential patients. So ladies and gentlemen, negativity is infectious and so is positivity. Let us together work on the word of mouth. And what are the driving factors that are going to help you to engage patients more, to increase your patient satisfaction, to increase the clinical care outcomes? So let us talk a little bit about FPPC framework of healthcare excellence. The FPPC framework talks about the feedback, the overall patient experience in receiving care from the very entry to the exit, and the patient safety in avoidance of unintended or any unexpected harm. It also involved the infection that the patient was not having earlier, the HAI developed after the patient entered into the facility, and overall clinical active effectiveness from achieving the optimum processes and the outcomes for the patients. So from feedback, patient experience, patient safety, and clinical effectiveness, these are the four major zones in which our today's topic is going to get structured on. Again, I would like to draw your attention on a very important patient centricity measurement model, which also talks about a lot of service excellence module, which is the ZS patient centricity framework. So as you can see in the circle, the activity, experience, and the impact are interlinked. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a very important framework which talks about the various parameters which as a whole involves in the service excellence and service championship of any hospital. So every activity is interrelated with the experience the patient is going to receive, and the experience is directly interlinked with the impact that you are going to put not only on the patient, but on the entire community as a whole. We have enablers, patient engagement metrics, patient experience, business impact, and patient impact. These are the five parameters which ZS patient centricity module talks about. In enablers, metrics that measures the organizational effort, investment, and emphasis on the patient-centric program. Yes, if I'll give you a small example, let's talk about signaging, where the patient feel more assured, the self-navigation is so high that patient does not require assistant in navigating to the patient facility or in the entire hospital. The facility has the signaging such structured well, and the investments are done on the facility management such appropriately that the patient feel that the patient is visiting in the facility where they feel more comfortable and they feel more informed. The patient engagement matrix is the measure of two-way interaction between the organization and the patient. Of course, the patient is going to have a different touch point at every level, starting from the emergency or the admission, the doctor's consultation, the pharmacy, the radiology screening and the laboratories, or the report dispatch, the front office, the customer service desk, the nursing staff, ICU, OT, cath lab, any area for that matter, how much the patient felt engaged and well interacted. The patient experience metrics measures the subjective patient perspective of their experience with the product, solution, and the overall company. So the patient experience talks about the feedback, the experience they had at each touch point, and what was the overall rating the patient will provide on the treatment care to the support services. The business impact matrix measures the commercial impact on the organization, because the deviation in any service standard is going to impact the revenue. The CXO CEOs today on this forum will agree with this fact that the metrics on the patient outcomes directly impacts the overall revenue of the hospital. And that is why service excellence has become a driving factor for the overall revenue of the hospital as well. Of course, we need to speak on the revenue elements as well, because if we have the proper revenue and the break even achieved, then we will be able to better invest for the patient care. We will be able to drive in more initiatives that helps patients to get recovered much faster. So just highlighting a report called Reengineering Indian Healthcare 2.0, they highlighted the fact that 63% of the patients surveyed were not happy with the hospital responsiveness and the waiting time. About 59% patients said hospitals were not concerned about the feedback and do not actively seek it. So, as you can see, India as a whole, 59% to 63% is a very high percentage. So as people in the forum, let us together work on how we can streamline the feedback and enhance patient engagement much better. So I would like to focus on the patient cycle of care and the touch points they have to go through, starting from the admission process to the in-room experience, to the nursing experience, the doctor's experience, diagnostic and ancillary experience, food and beverage, billing experience, security, and attendee experience. Let us deep dive into each and every touch point. So there are various attributes which we have grouped here, starting from admission process and experience. Here, patients wants the speed in the admission process. I know that there are n number of patients who are waiting to get admitted. We have to check the bed availability also. But at that time, one of the driving factor is the communication skills of the staff members. How well are they able to manage the chaos, manage the disturbance, and what is the queue management like? How is the security guard helping the staff members in the kiosk handling? And how well the patients are being counseled? In the in-room experience, the cleanliness and hygiene of the room and the bathroom, amenities in the room that are being provided, the room service experience that the patient gets, the room orientation, whether the patients are being oriented about the call bell, about the facilities, about the change in the nursing shift, about the treating doctors, about the duty doctors, whether the patients are being informed about who is at the duty. Patients also feel that they are being supervised by someone who is really competent in their work. So it is really important to address the patient needs and as well as communicating with the patients frequently. The speed of patient transfer in transfer out. So I have personally noticed that with many healthcare facilities, patients have to wait a day or two to get shifted from ICU to ward. Yes, the criticality is increasing day by day because the patient occupancy is going over and beyond. It is now high time for the hospital to make the hospital facilities such flexible that we need to be ready even after facing the pandemic like COVID. We need to be ready for any such cases, and our facilities much needs to be that flexible that we are ready to cater n number of patients with different uh, morbidities. With the nursing excellence, of course, the call bell has been an issue because the nurse patient ratio, because of the attrition, is getting, for the toss. The courtesy and compassion of the nursing staff is also getting reduced because of the n number of patients that they have to go through, that they have to, cater. The nurse patient ratio in the ICU, in the wards, is getting disturbed because of the attrition. And that is also reducing somewhere the patient satisfaction. How well the handover and takeover is done. Of course, at the time of chaos, there is this patient handover takeover is also getting compromised. The doctor visits are aligned with the nurses, and the nurses are aware about the patient care or not. Sometimes the nurses, because of too much of double duties, because of the nurses attrition, the hospital is unable to control the attrition, the hospitals are becoming like a training center where they train a group of nurses. And a survey has suggested that within 6 months, the nurses are leaving the hospital facility because of too much of pressure, too much of disturbed nurse patient ratio. That is also directly impacting the service excellence model of the hospital, also the patient satisfaction. Other attributes through which we can engage patient and give them a better experience overall is the food and beverage experience. Of course, food goes hand in hand with the medication, because if the food quality is good, the medication is going to effectively work, the average length of stay is going to get reduced. So the quality and the taste of food, the services on time, the timeliness of the food services, the courtesy and compassion of the food and beverage staff. Another touch point for the better service excellence model is the doctor's experience. The explanation given by the doctor regarding the treatment, courtesy and compassion by the doctors, regular process and updates, visits by the doctors, effectiveness of the treatment, and how well doctors are involved in the counseling of the patients and the guest. The diagnostics and the ancillary services, the services in the radiology, lab, pharmacy, emergency, physiotherapy, cardiology, radiotherapy, dialysis, etc. All these also add up to the entire service excellence model of the hospital. Therefore, let us not ignore the patient experience in the department of physiotherapy. And that is why at small areas like dialysis, pharmacy, there also we have to lay down the service standards. Every single department of the hospital must have a structured service standard training program. The waiting time of the services also is becoming a very critical part of the entire patient engagement. Of course, the billing and discharge process has been a pain point for a lot of patients in the hospital, because the speed of the discharge process, the TAT that we have to maintain, the communication and handling of the queries, patient exit within the set benchmark is also becoming critical. Security, of course, how aware is the security about the patient safety guidelines, effective queue management by the security professionals, and helpfulness of the security staff. The guest experience on the care and comfort of the attendee, how much housekeeping is assisting the guest and the patient in the room, that is also a key parameter. That's why housekeeping training is very critical these days. Now, what are the different ways that we can, through which we can measure the patient satisfaction? So now hospitals, surgeries, and clinics are striving to quantify the care they give and measure how satisfied the patients are with their experience. So that's why feedback, complaints, compliments, and suggestions are very important to track. And to track those, we need to do regular patient satisfaction surveys. About 81% of the patient read online provider review. 70% said reviews about quality of care most important and influential. As you know that if you want to Google, the Google reviews are also becoming critical. Many of the patients, before they going into the facility, they check the online reviews of the doctors and the treatment facility. 60% will choose one provider over another because of the positive online reviews. 60% will not book an appointment with a provider that had poor quality scores online. That is why even before the patient chooses the facility for the treatment and care, they visit the satisfaction score of the patient that have been to that particular facility. Therefore, the satisfaction survey is becoming critical. If you are not conducting the patient satisfaction survey, you have to start today. Now, how we are going to start and from where we are going to start the patient surveys? I have on the table the net promoter score that you can measure to measure the effectiveness of treatment and care at your hospital. Net promoter score is nothing but is a metric used in customer experience program. It measures customer service, satisfaction, loyalty, and allowing companies to track how people perceive their brand. Just a small example of NPS on how to measure it. On the scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this particular hospital to a friend or family? What was your experience with this particular hospital? So the people who provide their scoring from 9 to 10 are promoters. There are passive scorers who will score their experience from 7 to 8, and anybody less than 6 would be a detractor. So promoters are more enthusiastic customers who are likely to recommend a brand or a particular hospital. The passives are satisfied, neutral. They're not likely to spread neither positive nor negative word of mouth to anybody. The detractors are unsatisfied customers who won't stick to around, discourage other from engaging with your brand. They will raise their voice. These are the detractors who will, write about their experience on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Google reviews. So it's just not detractors that we need to maintain at all, promoter, passives, and detractors. All the three, our service excellence team has to have six very, very fixed control on. So the operation team and the service excellence team, along with the quality, has to work in hand to enhance the net promoter score. Now, how detractors can be converted into promoters. So have a structured feedback mechanism in place. If the patients are not feeling heard, get to the bottom of the issues. Work on the relationship. Do not try to pass on, or do not try to transfer the blame to another department. Check upon all customers. As I said, negativity is infectious. If one patient is dissatisfied, it will slowly and gradually, infect the other patient in that area, and your dissatisfaction score will increase. So please ensure that as soon as we have the proper feedback mechanism in place, we need to review our net promoter score as well. Now we start with the patient engagement strategies, and these patient engagement strategies are also going to work, hand in hand with the service excellence team. So number one strategy is reducing potentially preventable admissions. That is PPR. One of the very effective and successful strategies is reduction in the PPR. Unengaged patients usually do not follow the aftercare instructions, and as a result, they are at a higher risk of being readmitted within 30 days of being discharged. Many of the hospitals might take look at it as a revenue opportunity, but in longer run, the potentially preventable admissions, the patients who are getting readmission within 30 days are also going to reduce your brand image in the longer run, right? So please ensure that you are reducing the potentially preventable admissions, and the operations team and the service excellence team, they are actually tracking that what was the major cause behind increased readmissions in the hospital, because that really reflects the fact that the care given by the hospital healthcare providers is not up to the mark and as per the set benchmarks and standards. Next is the patient defections. What is patient defection? So decreasing service failures and focusing on service excellence can decrease patient defect. Now, what is patient defect? Leaving one healthcare institution for another. If I am not satisfied with the services at hospital A, I will shift to a hospital B because I was expecting a better care at A. I was not being heard properly. There's no feedback mechanism. There is no redressal mechanism. That's why I'm shifting to the hospital B. That is the patient defection. Now, to reduce patient defection, having a solid service recovery plan is really going to help. Now, when service failures do occur, is a key to ensuring an excellent healthcare experience for every patient. How you are going to have a proper service recovery plan in place, and what is a service excellence model look like? So for that, one of the aspect is PPE, that is patient pre-engagement. Simple pre-visit procedures like intake forms, clinical reminders, appointment reminders start patient engagement before they come to the facility. Sharing this information well before the patient even arrives benefits both doctors and patients. Like if many of like whenever we have airport visits, Indigo sends messages to the clients that this is the time of onboarding. If that flight has been rescheduled, they get a prior information. If they have to follow the COVID safety guidelines, the Indigo Airlines, they send reminders much prior to the person visiting the airport. That is what? That is nothing but customer pre-engagement. Similarly, we need to start patient pre-engagement. Send appointment reminders to the patient. Tell them about the appointment time that has been fixed. If anything, any protocol that they need to follow. I have also seen at the health checkup counters that patients were not aware that for a lipid profile or for a sugar test, they have to come empty stomach. And after traveling all the way to the hospital, they have been told that they would have to come empty stomach, and the next day they have to reschedule their entire checkup. So the pre-engagement is really going to help in maintain our patient satisfaction scores. Now, the patient complaint escalation matrix and the feedback mechanism is also very critical for the overall engagement. So design a process to capture and address all the complaint and patient grievances. Ensure the involvement of organizations, governing bodies, and designate a grievance committee. Of course, most of the hospital, they have a service excellence committee to address the patient needs, requirements, and the complaints. Implement policies, procedures, and processes for investigation and prompt resolution of the patient complaints. Patient will feel much empowered if you train them, if you will talk to them about the patient rights and responsibilities. Educate all physicians and the staff on the grievance process, because most of the patient, they don't know whom to go to, whom to speak to, whom to write to if they have any grievance. They end up looking for the CEO's cabin that I want to talk to the upper authority. Why? Because the committee has not been structured well. So use dedicated staff to solve small problems before they escalate. Employ a proactive approach to the customer service and empower frontline staff to act as the first line of defense against any complaints. Now, what are the process flows? So I can just talk about a generic process flow. There are different ways to collect patient feedback. It could be a verbal discussion. A patient can email a patient. If you have a proper structured feedback form, the patient can give their feedback, or even when the management visit hospital, different patients at different floors, the rounds by the senior management, that also you can take as a patient feedback. Once the patient is feedback is collected through various media, it is further divided into qualitative and quantitative. If I have to divide quantitative, I will measure the quantitative feedback, that how many feedback I have received on the care and treatment, how many feedbacks I have received on the delay in the discharge process, number of feedbacks I have received on the bad communication or the behavior or the lack of training of the staff members or the lack of awareness. That I'm going to review with the Service Excellence Committee along with my leadership. And after a closed review, we are going to get back to the customer with a possible solution. So we can do either a open file quantitative feedback analysis or a closed file quantitative feedback analysis, where the patient is getting the rectification of a particular problem within 24 hours. If I have to give qualitative feedback analysis, I can divide it in complaint, compliments, and suggestions. All the three elements I'm going to bucket, and accordingly I'm going to raise the ticket. Once the ticket is raised on complaint and compliments, it again goes to the review committee. If the review committee wants, the compliment and suggestions must be interlinked with the reward recognition of the staff members, because they will also feel empowered and a sense of belongingness will increase in the hospital. You can either or try to link the complaints, compliment, and suggestion with the performance management of the staff members, but that is not much advisable. Some hospitals might have tried doing this, but it also, the PMS might discourage some of the staff members as well. Now, I would like to draw your attention on the service recovery framework, which divides into 3 stages: the early stage, the intermediate stage, and the follow-up stage. Of course, as soon as any thing goes wrong, the first thing that we are going to do is give an explanation to the patients or the guest, apologize, or try to be as responsive as possible. We will involve all those people into the response, those who were involved in the service recovery. The second stage, the first stage is more superficial, but if you want to get into the depth, if you want to ensure that in the service recovery process, you don't lose on, the patient satisfaction, then the other three factors that we are going to look at is the service recovery speed. You have to give the timeline to the patient that how much time they can expect this particular issue to get resolved. Service recovery effort, what all effort you are doing to recover, what all departments are involved in the service recovery process, and how sustainable is the service recovery framework. Because as I understand, many of the hospital, even if they have given the service recovery, the issue is sorted, but the next day some other patients start facing the same issue. So we need to ensure that whatever solution which we are putting on the frame has a longer sustainability. Then if we have to dwell a little deeper, and if we have to set a ground that our service recovery, the entire process and the framework remains appropriate and effective, we need to work on the service recovery levels, that at what level and who all are going to be involved in the service recovery, what are the departments and who all are the members involved in the service recovery team, and what is the post service recovery communication we are going to do with the patient. Of course, if the issue is getting resolved, we have to inform with the patient. If you are going to take time to resolve an issue, then that also has to be communicated to the patient. One of the important things which I have myself successfully witnessed in many of the hospital is post discharge patient communication. I personally have implemented in many of the hospitals. So I have seen that post-discharge communication reduces the readmittance, ensures patient comply with their care plans, and how to streamline post-discharge patient communication. So according to a report by NCBI, about 50% of the elderly patients were readmitted within 28 days of their discharge, because research revealed that a telephonic communication post-discharge can help reduce admission rates. So there were readmissions because of poor post-discharge communication, because the patients were neither compliant with the care standards that they need to follow after exiting the hospital facility. Even geriatric patients, mostly they find it difficult to comply with the doctor's plan of treatment after the discharge. So we need to ensure that we need to keep a track on the post-discharge communication. And as healthcare continues to evolve, the patient's responsibility for following their care plan after discharge continues to increase. Therefore, skilled nursing facilities must be, find ways to ensure patient comply with their care plans. Now, care managers can easily send automated follow-up calls and texts whether the patient is doing well. Patients' answers get recorded on the communication platform, and skilled nursing staff can easily identify whether the patient is at risk. Patient education and counseling cell, another important strategy to engage the patients, a unique concept that has been initiated to find out true patient voice after they get discharged from a hospital. So a dedicated team of healthcare professionals who are trained and equipped to aid patients post-discharge with regards to future appointments and medication management. The feedback captured during the post-discharge calling can be used for quality and training purposes. This will help, the post-discharge health counseling, awareness on the patient rights and responsibilities, continuous patient education on critical lifestyle-related disorders also has to be done. So patient education programs should be a continuous process by different hospitals. Another important segment which is directly linked with the patient engagement and also patient satisfaction in the hospital. I've seen that because of poor financial counseling, patients have, we have seen that a larger dissatisfaction comes from the financial segment, because of course patients needs to know the cost of care. Now, what are the elements which are involved in the patient counseling? So there has to be an estimate for the surgery, cath procedures, or even for the high cost medicines. Estimates on approximate length of stay, and cost of support services also needs to be given to the patients. Recounseling needs to be done if the patient is shifted from ward to ICU. Of course, the cost is going to change. Instead of multiple follow-ups on call to the patients, I have seen that patients get irritated, relatives get irritated if multiple follow-ups calls on, submitting the money of the treatment goes to the patient. Rather than follow-up calls, it would be more advisable to give an estimate document to the patient that has to be handed over to the patient. An estimate document can be segmented into surgical, consumables, and the facilities and the support services that the patient is going to avail. The financial counseling format should be a document of approximation and anticipated costing, which has to be mentioned, as it may possibly create chaos sometimes, because patients need to read the terms and conditions properly and has to be clearly mentioned along with the common FAQs. Otherwise, the patient will say the estimate was like 2 lakh for a surgery, but now it is showing 2.5 lakh. You never know at the operation theater what patient is going to require and what deviation it could be from the estimated patient condition. So there are, for example, there is a tumor removal, and when the patient went to the OT, the doctors found out that there is another tumor that has to be removed, right? And that is much more critical than the first one. That might vary the cost of the entire surgery, right? So the estimate also should be given to the patient, keeping them informed about that this is plus minus any variation they can expect. You can also engage patient through various awareness days. March, we are going to observe 3rd March, World Hearing Day, Multiple Personality Day, International Women's Day, World Kidney Day, National Immunization Day, World Oral Health Day, World Down Syndrome Day, World Tuberculosis Day. These are the multiple days that we are going to observe in the March 2023. Now you can chalk out various patient engagement ideas and campaigns which can help patient to feel more, attached with the hospital, because we are actually taking the responsibility to inform patients on various days. You can involve the patients in these celebrations. You can run awareness on hospital acquired infection. You can run awareness campaigns involving patients on lifestyle disorders and their management. Patients relatives are also involved in family engagement programs through free oral hygiene camps, ophthalmologist consultation, etc. Yoga, patient wellness programs, geriatric health screening, patient connect program. These are the other things that you can do from routine care and treatment to engage patient and their relatives. Patient retention and loyalty card can also be launched to increase the patient engagement in the hospital. For example, you can give "May I help you" cards when the patient enters in the hospital facility, or whenever the patient get admitted in the hospital. We can give the "May I help you" cards to them. The "May I help you" card will is nothing but it will reflect the major contact numbers that the patient has to dial in case they need diet consultation, in case they directly contact the pharmacy, in case they have any feedback or suggestions related to the F&B or anything, housekeeping requirement, home care services, everything the "May I help you" card is going to have. The Get Well Soon card as a gesture that you want to connect with the hospital, that you are really connect with the patient, that you are really concerned about the patient well-being. You can also give them a small greeting card with the hospital logo on it, says about the Get Well Soon. The health card for availing health checkups and benefits. Like if the malls and the many supermarkets, they have started with the loyalty card. Similarly, you can have the health checkup card, which the patient can just swipe once, and on the screen you can see the entire patient journey in the hospital. The hospital patient health clubs you can start. Patients can join the health club, in which you can on every Saturdays and Sundays, or every once in 3 months, you can invite patient for the health conferences, health awareness programs. You can also, in the health club, you can start involving patients for the marathon, walkathon, cyclothon, Zumba classes, yoga meditation sessions, in any therapeutic sessions, you can involve the patients. The home care support cards also you can give, and patient connect programs also you can do through the loyalty cards. Now, every hospital, if not, must have a service excellence committee, and there has to be frequent reviews on the service excellence. Now, the review must contain complaints, compliments, and suggestions, discussions, top feedbacks that they have addressed and received during the quarter, the patient feedback survey analysis which was conducted, the patient engagement programs that has been done. What are the major statistics highlighting significant deviation from the service standard? This what was promised versus what was delivered to the patient. The service standards training done throughout the program and throughout the quarter, and the departments with highest suggestions. Which department has received the highest suggestion? Is it nursing? Is it F&B, housekeeping, pharmacy, billing, discharge, TPA? Which department has received the highest complaint and the suggestions? Another, which is another element of patient engagement, which has been very successful in Arabic countries, was the help guides, which is also a very common engagement parameter in US. That is the health guides for health checkup. Now, these are either in human form or the education material. There are health guides for vulnerable patients. As soon as you see a pregnant lady walking in the hospital, or a cancer patient walking in, critically ill patient walking in, 65 plus elderly patient walking into the hospital, or a young baby who's coming to the hospital, they should get assistance from the hospital starting from the entry to exit. There has to be shadow who's going to help them at each level, at each touch point. The documents of care and the precautions, education material for the elderly patient and the pregnant patients also has to be done. Now, there should be healthcare centers in the hospital, which is going to help the patients in case after they get discharged, if they have any query regarding the medication, if they have any query, for example, the elderly patients who are living on their own, right? In case they forgot the track of which medication to take when, they cannot just call doctors in the midnight, right? So there has to be a health call center, which will have a team of doctors available 24/7. So there are a few hospitals in the country who have started this health call center, which can help the patient whenever they need. They have a team of trained doctors and nurses who are there to address the query of the patients. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to draw your attention on the newsletters and the testimonials. So you must have the hospital newsletter, which talks about your success of care and treatment, along with your testimonials. Involve patients in your newsletter. The patient will feel connected with the hospital facility, understand about what went well, and include them in your testimonials and your regular newsletter. That many of the hospital, they have their weekly magazines in which they talk about their patient engagement programs. They can also talk about their major challenges, any successful surgeries that they have done, how many patients they have successfully, it could be a transplant story. It could be, you can also talk about successful surgeries, etc. Patient surveys are very important along with the HERA rounds as per NABH. So if you want to engage, patients more, you have to make them feel, safe in the hospital facility. For that, you need to conduct regular safety surveys. So assess and analyze the current state of the patient safety culture. Identify actionable areas of strength and opportunities for improvement in the patient areas. Examine, provide comparison across work areas, staff position, and facilities. Conduct HERA rounds, that is hazard identification and risk assessment rounds as per NABH and JCI standards. It will foster a much safer patient care environment and healthier workspace for the staff, which will also promote the staff well-being at all areas. Because for the health and safety of the patient, we need to take care of the health and safety of our staff members as well. Many of the hospitals, they conduct regular analysis on turnaround time. So the critical areas where the turnaround time analysis has to be there is radiology, reporting and dispatch of course, billing, admission, pharmacy for indenting and dispatch of medicines, the discharge and TPA, transfer in, transfer out of the patient, how much time it took for the patient to get transferred in and transferred out, and laboratory waiting time, sample collection, report dispatch. Everything must be analyzed and tracked, because the TAT is directly proportional to your overall service excellence, service experience at the hospital. So please ensure that you have a turnaround time measured for these critical areas, because this can really impact your overall net promoter score. Now some things to some giveaways for the entire success of your service excellence model of the hospital. So if you want to step up your service excellence service game and reach service excellence, here are the few steps that you can take. Know your brand and know your product. Now many of the hospital staff members, they are not even aware what all services hospital provide, what are the centers of excellence. So you can run a know your hospital program where the staff are aware about the scope of services, whom to connect. So for example, the patient is giving a negative feedback to the nursing staff. Now, what is the next step the nursing staff has to follow? The mechanism, the SOP awareness, everything has to have a strict compliance and hold. Have a noticeable common question page. Now create small FAQ pager that will help you to train your staff members that these are the common queries which can arise for a billing team per professional. These are the common queries which can arise for a person working at the TPA desk, and they should be well informed prior, before the patient brings into the query, because the patient feel much agitated if the patient feels that the staff members are not even aware that these types of queries might come up. Treat customers as individual. Don't try to bucket the problems. Every individual has a different mindset. Every individual has a different certain set of expectation. Don't try to club people with okay, these people have the same problems. Uh, these people, they these people have a common set of problems, let me give a common solution. That must not be done. Stay to your promise. The patients feel agitated when you over promise and under deliver. And anticipate customer needs. Sometimes customers aren't sure about what they need. Customer is already in a place where the person is already feeling threatened. The environment is new to them. Give them counseling, educate them in easy to understand language, handhold patients. For example, you can give them a an education material which guides them about lifestyle related disorders, the things that they need to take care after getting discharged from the hospital. Handhold the patients, and I believe that is going to help us in making the service excellence a model of the hospital successful. So I would like to corroborate what all I have discussed. I would like to corroborate and explain this much better with the help of a small video on empathy. I would request Ms. Subhashri to kindly play the video. Thank you so much for the video. So that's on that note. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in for today's session. You can drop in if you have any queries in the chat box. You can also share some of the strategies that you are using with your hospital successfully, and you're driving successfully the service excellence model. You can also reach out to us on info@medlearn.com. And once again, to the entire healthcare fraternity who was present in the webinar today, my heartful thank you to everybody for participating in. And Medlearn continuously look forward to upskill the healthcare professionals. And I'm looking forward to similar participation in upcoming webinars we have. So if there are any queries, any concerns, any experience you want to share, I would be more than happy to address. So if you can just drop in your suggestions, feedback, and even your queries in the chat box, I would be more than happy to address. Thank you so much. I can see everybody. Yes, I'm glad. Thank you so much. That is what it was helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Any queries, any questions anybody has, I would be more than happy to address. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the appreciation. It's all of us because of the appreciation we have been receiving, the Medlearn team as a whole. We are bringing different topics for the leadership, the middle management, nursing staff, the front office team, the service excellence team, the quality team. Thank you so much. We will share the webinar recording. Yes. No problem. Those who have missed any of the bit in the session, we are going to share the recording with you. Any drop in your suggestions, drop in your queries if you have any on any segment. If you felt like you had a query, please drop in. The Medlearn team would be happy to address. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So I was more energetic to see such wonderful participation. Thank you so much, everybody, on behalf of the entire Medlearn team. I look forward to conduct more sessions for our fraternity. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a very happy learning, and I have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you so much.